Okay. Ooh. And December 19th, so close to Christmas. We're coming in close to our holidays. So as we're coming in, let's go ahead and take a big breath. So inhale really big and exhale through your mouth. So this time as you inhale, you're going to light up your nostrils and really inhale like you're smelling a flower. So Teresa, inhale big. And then exhale through your mouth long and slow. So we're going to do that again. And on the inhalation, it's really a big movement of receiving. So it's a massive inhalation where we feel the inside of our nostrils really activating. And then as you exhale, I want you to exhale really as though you're filling up a balloon so that you exhale long and slow and feel it move through your body so that we send oxygen through our entire being. So let's go ahead and take our inhale again. Here we go. Inhale big, light up your nostrils. Exhale long and slow and pucker your lips like you're blowing a balloon. And allow your breath to settle in and feel it within your body. Since we are in the beginning of our morning, I'm going to go ahead and ask for us to go ahead and take a little twist. Love a twist. So you're going to go ahead and as you're sitting up, you're going to turn to your left and you can put your hand on the outside of your knee or either onto a chair, something to support you in twisting. And then just twist and look back over your shoulder. And take a big breath and exhale long. Stay here and take another breath. And exhale long. One more breath. Inhale big. Exhale long. Allow for a bigger twist when you exhale. Come back to the center and change sides. So sit up tall and inhale big. And exhale, allow yourself to twist. Stay here. Take another breath. Inhale big. And exhale long. And one more. Inhale big. Looking over your right shoulder. Exhale long. And back to center. Whew. Love a twist.
Yes.
When we twist, it's in yoga we speak of it as we're wringing out your insides and being able to allow ourselves, because when we're coming into body language and things that we've experienced during our days prior to, here's Mimi coming in. And when we're speaking about things that we've experienced prior to today and in the past and right now, we are speaking about letting go and being able to transform what we're experiencing. And in the transformation, we are required to give ourselves that we can let go of what it is. And it's the letting go that gives us the power to transform. It's not like Andrea and I have spoken before about, well, is it about removing something out of your body? No, it's the power of letting go to give ourselves ease so we can see what it is. And the twisting is a memory of that, because when we twist, we empower our body to remember that it is okay to let go of what is coming up for us to allow ourselves to really be able to experience ease in our bodies. And Andrea enjoys, and I do too, beginning with some decrees. And we use decrees to call the energy of our space in, and to allow us to continue setting this space. Andrea?
Yes, and I'm going to give some decrees, and I choose to first share the universal law of, if we have yet to experience our miracles or our blessings, it's because we have yet to let go and create space for them to come in and come home. And when we were twisting, I had burp, which translates into, it's a letting go of resentment, and it's an opportunity to make a new choice. And so, am I in the movement of receiving support and through letting go? Because if we have yet to let go, are we going to let it in? And we're the ones that open the door for it to come in. So thank you, Carrie. And so I'm going to ask that we do our best to stay visibly still, to support each other in what we call our stay, which is giving ourselves and our body and those that we are here with today our full presence. And so I'm going to ask you, you can say quietly on the inner and just say, I stay and I touch. I feel. I breathe. And I love. I give myself permission to love what I feel and to feel what I love. And then we're going to repeat this one as well. I am my own permanent victory, surrendering in the light. I am my own permanent victory in the light. I am my family's permanent victory in the light. I am my world's permanent victory in the light. Thank you. And for Mimi, I choose to know how much you
Okay. Just a reminder that the thank you part is actually part of the decree. I just choose to say that because sometimes we think Andrea has really good manners. And yes, she does, but there was much more to it than that. And so I choose to speak into that, because what we're aware of is when we are, what we may be used to in the past is asking for something. And what we're here is we're coming into a demanded command of where I am of ownership and authority. And when we come into our authority and we claim our victory in the light, we say thank you because it's already done. And the thank you is it's already done. It's part of our authority in our claiming it. And so it is important, everybody, that you say Thank you. Because I am aware that Andrea has really good Southern manners, and yet this is something else.
And even and still in this avenue is when we say thank you, we are already in gratitude. And gratitude has the energetics of something has already been given to us. It's already here. And gratitude creates the belief that something is already done. We believe that it's already done. And what we believe is what we receive. And the gratitude and thank you may be the simplest, most amazing prayer, hands up, that we can say. And gratitude creates all of the life-sustaining changes in our body through our hormones, and it feeds our serotonin and our oxytocin and creates happiness and joy on the inner. And so it's amazing. So thank you. And Mimi, you may be somewhat new to some of the language that we use. And so I choose to speak into victory and perfection. And so when we're claiming I am my own permanent victory, means that I am seeing me, I am seeing my loved ones, I am seeing my world in the outcome, meaning harmony, peace, bliss, joy, ease, gratitude. And we're required to let go of doubt, anger, frustration, irritation, grief, sadness, and shame and guilt. And all of these feelings on this, what we call the left side that we're experiencing, are our reminder of what we are moving into. And so we see perfection in where we are at the exact moment of now. And so when we recognize and become aware of where we are and how we feel, what we say is, I choose to make it okay that I feel sad, that I feel angry, that I feel frustrated, that I'm experiencing shame. This is my return. My return is here. So anger turns into forgiveness, shame turns into innocence and self-love. Shame is purity and self-love. Guilt is into innocence. So we're required to experience these feelings and the roller coaster of them so that we may recognize what joy is, what love is, what innocence is, what self-love is, because how can we know these things if we have yet to understand what it is not? And so that's why we do that. And then also, because we are energetic beings of a force greater than we have yet to see, we're energetically connected. And so anything we think, feel, or say about ourselves or others, we keep. 60% of anything negative that we send out to others through thoughts and feelings, we keep. And so when we are seeing people in their perfection, we're voting their victory, we are raising our own value, we're raising the value of others, and we are staying in the expanded energy of love. And so when you stay in your expanded energy of love and you see others in their expanded energy of love, it's I tell two people, they tell two people, and so on and so on and so on. So it's a tenfold. It's similar, it's tithing. And so anytime we bless ourselves, we bless someone else, we're sharing, they go forward and they bless others. They're blessing themselves. We feel blessed, we bless others. We feel blessed and they bless us. And so we're creating this massive expansion of love and blessing.
It's the energetic ripple effect.
Yes.
I've seen the waves of energy explanation where you see the waves of energy like a ripple in the water, and it goes
bigger.
from it, yes, and it moves from within you and ripples out and connects to anyone that crosses your path. But what we're learning in quantum physics is they don't even require crossing your path as we know it, like brushing our shoulder or calling us on the phone or being. What we're aware of is in quantum physics is the energy of our shift can affect somebody on the other side of the world. And so
instantly.
Instantly. And so, and especially if you have DNA, if you have family members that are on the other side of the world, or even if in another city, they can immediately feel. I've had this experience with my son lives in College Station. And I've had this experience of being able to step into showing up and being heard and having him call me. And when he calls me on the phone and I share something, he's like, "Oh my gosh, Mom, that is so amazing. I know how hard you've been working." And this is his language. I wouldn't use the word hard, but his choice. He said, "I know how hard you've been working and I know how great that is. And I am so proud of you." Now, if you knew my son, you'd be like, "Say that again. Did he say that to you?" And what I'm aware of also is when we step into our feeling worlds, how much it'll ripple. I just spent time with my second son the other day, and he was explaining to me how he sat with his brother and they were having a disagreement. And he said, "I was so mad. I really thought," and they're both in college now, so they're older. I've got 21 and 18. And he said, "I came in the door, Mom, and I saw him. I was so mad at him." He said, "And we went out." He said, "Let's go out." He said, "Let's go outside." He said, "Man, I really thought we were going to fight." He said, "And we got outside and I looked at him and he said, 'Talk to me.'" I said, he said, "What?" He said, "Talk to me." That was already tender. And he said, and then I looked at him and I said, "You know what? You hurt my feelings." And he said, his whole head changed. He said, "Mom, at that moment, I watched his head, and from where he was here, his head just turned and he went like this and he looked at me and he said, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I didn't know. I didn't understand that." And I said to my son, "You spoke to his feeling world. And when you spoke to his feeling world, he heard you. Because all that other stuff that you said didn't do anything." And this was a miracle because I had been stepping into speaking into feelings. And I didn't call them and tell them, "Hey, y'all should step into your feeling world. You really should be talking about your feelings a little bit more." Because if any of us have had an experience, we know that those things we believe they work. That's how we taught people in the past. And what we're finding out through these movements is that when we step in and we make a shift, that's the quantum physics. That's how it works, that they automatically feel your shift miles away and they're not even aware of what's happening. We had the summit and Tracy, I don't know if either Tracy spoke really well into it, where her husband came into a shift and she said, "I got in the car and I started to drive and there was somebody else behind my eyes. Like I was like, who's in my body? Like, what is happening?" And she said, "What was happening," she said, "now I know, is that my husband had stepped into feeling and I shifted and I could feel that I was different. And yet I was yet to know why. And I was yet to know what I was experiencing. I just knew that I felt completely different." And so that's the magic of being able to come into a transition. As Andrea's expanding love within us will expand for others around us. And that's how, when we speak of quantum physics, that's how the quantum physics actually works in DNA, and it's magical.
Yes. And what we are learning and are remembering is that in quantum physics is that we are all one. that there is no separation of self from body and or higher power. I choose God. That's my word. There is no religion. We're speaking into feeling and spirituality, and whatever your word for your higher power is your word, or person, whether it's light, love, goddess, mother nature, whatever that may be. And choose to remember, I will remember where I was going. And so our families, the people that we love, they are us. There's only, Carrie will say Ben, which is her husband's name. Well, Ben was blah blah blah, and I said who? I'll say who, Carrie? You were. There's only one of us here, and so the people in our life, our friends and acquaintances and jobs and parents, all show up, and they're running literally our patterns on the outer. And so when we recognize what's going on with us through them, we can make the shift in us, and then they receive. And DNA, amazing. Even if you can take petri dishes of DNA even over 1,300 miles apart and make a shift in one dish, and the other responds instantaneously, no time, no space, exact shift. So this is why in the collective we have the ability to create massive transformation through prayer, and how we all be with each other, all in one fail swoop. And Teresa, do you choose to play?
Yes.
And awesome. And so do we have your permission to facilitate you?
Yes.
Do we
I
have
want
your
to
permission?
communicate one thing, and then I'm completely present. Okay.
Okay. Do we have your permission to vote your victory and see your perfection?
Yes, please.
Do we have your permission to explore with you your greater mission in life?
Yes.
And so I desire to use you to teach the class today, because when you came in, you said your daughter is experiencing illness. And so because she is you share DNA. And so she's running the pattern for you. And so what symptoms what's her name?
Liliana.
And so what symptoms is Liliana experiencing?
She's having a cough, a low fever, and earache.
Which ear?
Right now it is her left ear. Yesterday it was her right ear.
It's moving.
Yes.
And how does she feel?
It goes in waves, so she'll feel very fatigued and tired, and then she feels energetic and happy.
And so I'm going to ask you, is there something that you have been running from hearing in yourself? And so let's just yes or no.
Yes.
And how do you feel about what you're running from?
Fear.
And fear of what?
Failure.
And is there something that you are doing right now that is creatively inspired? That you're desiring to do?
I want to write more than I am.
And I'm going to ask you to do your best to keep your eyes open, because this is when we close our eyes, they're doing one of two things. We're either going mental and we're running. And does God speak through you immediately?
Yes.
And say it again. I want to write more.
I want to write more.
Say it again.
I want to write more.
Say it again.
I want to write more.
Write more of what?
My story.
What's your story?
My past, my history, my becoming, my empowering.
And so is this something that's very sacred to you?
Yes.
And so sacred, the same letters are scared. And so, and is writing creative?
Yes.
And is your story inspiring?
Yes.
And so if we have a cough touches, it's our will coming back on board. And so how much will are you required to use to step into your creative?
All of my will.
And if we have something that is so sacred and dear and precious to us, is it easy to touch?
No.
And so, and we'll just say, I make it okay.
I make it okay.
Do your best to keep your eyes open. And just say, I feel scared.
I feel scared.
And I make it okay.
I make it okay.
Because what does fear stand for?
That I really care.
And so fear itself, false experiences appearing real. And so if you were just itching, what were you scratching?
I have some left armpit
And
pressure.
so have you felt like you can't receive or you can't write?
I feel scared too. I feel like I'm going to Okay,
just breathe.
like my parents will not like the story.
And so have you spent most of your life worrying about what your parents are going to think?
Yes.
And who's not going to like the story?
I fear my parents, but I guess me.
And so have you been second guessing yourself?
Yes.
And so say, I give myself permission
I give myself permission
to stay.
to stay.
And is it time for you to do what you know how to do?
Yes.
And so what's the worst thing that can happen if you write your story and tell your story and share your story? What's the worst thing your parents could say or do?
I'll hurt their feelings.
And whose feelings are hurt?
Mine.
And just say, my feelings were hurt.
My feelings were hurt.
And if your daughter said something to you that hurt your feelings, how would you be with her?
Loving and tender.
And so are you expecting your parents to be different with you?
No. They would be loving and tender.
Remember, my parents are loving and tender.
My parents are loving and tender.
And
Because is this story about the past?
No. I mean, yes and no, right? It's now. It's my reclaiming my relationship with them now. And it's the story of my past, and it happened before.
Yes, so you'll be speaking into your past. What we remember about speaking into our past is when we speak into the past, we reference it as in the past. Because when we put light on the past, we can continue to transform where we are now. Because if does everything happen for a reason?
Yes.
Which that's always a claim to fame. Everybody walks around with that one. Everything happens for a reason. And what you're remembering is, are you going to be alive in the glory of the reason, or are you going to be alive in the experience that happened?
In the glory.
Yes. And so there's a way that we speak into things in the past by saying that they are the past, and acknowledging that it's the only skill set that happened and that you had. You had the experience because it's the only skill set you had at the time. And so you signed up for the experience so that you could live in the glory. And if you're going to speak into, this is the experience I had, and now that I'm aware that my whole unit has new skills to live in the glory, do you imagine your parents will hear that?
Yes.
Yes.
And so are you making up that your parents can't handle what happened?
Yeah. Yes.
And are they aware of the story already or not? Yes or no?
Yes.
And have you been blaming them for it?
Forgiving them.
Didn't answer the question.
And answer the question. Have you been blaming your parents for what happened?
Yes.
And will you speak as much as you are able to or care to, will you speak into your story a little bit so that we have a better feel for what you're desiring to, what your story is and your inspiration? It's a great platform to begin.
I was sexually molested by a older cousin in my aunt and uncle's home. And I have a memory of sharing that with my parents years later when I was still a little girl. It happened when I was 5, and I have a memory of sharing when I was about 7 or 8. And I've spoken to my mom about that, and she says that I shared with her when I was a teenager. And in this memory, I remember, the more I touch it, the more I remember it as being in silence, just laying on my mom's lap and crying. And so for years, I was so angry as to how they could take me back to that house. If I had told them, why didn't they set the fire to that? Why didn't they do anything?
Why didn't they save you? And so if your mother didn't hear you and your daddy didn't hear you, is your daughter hearing you? Is your daughter, so she's got infection, yes, in her ears. And so infection is inflammation. It's resentment and anger about what we've heard. And have you been resentful at your mother and your daddy for not hearing you?
Yes.
And what we're aware of is that our perception, our belief is whatever. If you believed that you shared with your mother, that's your reality.
Mhm.
And is it possible that you shared something with your mother she was not able to hear?
Yes.
And so I'm aware there's history written about when Columbus came to the Americas, where the Indians are standing on the shore and the ships are coming into the harbor, and they have never seen these. They don't know it's beyond their imagination. They're unable to see the ships because it's nothing they have ever seen before. And so if your mother heard something that was so hurtful to her, is it possible that she suppressed?
Yes. Yes.
And because that's what our subconscious does for us. It does everything in its power to keep us as safe as we possibly can. And so I too have the sexual trauma, and mine was, I repressed it and believed that I couldn't tell my parents, that it was so awful I couldn't say, it was so awful I couldn't even remember, until I gave myself permission to do that. And that's been my whole journey, is to remember. And I recently, if you're having the experience of the fear of your parents really hearing your story, is because what can happen to you if you tell all the truth? What could possibly happen to that little girl? How are they gonna feel about her?
I'm gonna love her.
And that's what you know? Is that how you feel?
That's how I feel.
Didn't answer the question.
Didn't answer. Yes. And so are you fully believing they're going to see you as pure and innocent if you share all of your story?
No.
Yes. And which is why we hold on to, and we don't do the things that we're inspired to do, because if we're really heard and we're really seen, we might be seen as impure, unclean, and walking and living in our shame. And I'm going to share my experience was, when I finally gave myself permission to remember what happened with myself, I did so in an office with a therapist. This was my experience. This is what it gave me, with my mother and my father present. And was I required to share the memories of what happened? No, because we can't. Does it serve me or them to hear the details? My feeling was no, and so I kept that for me to let go of. And just recently, so I created all of that. I was with my mother, I was with my daddy. My father supported me in how to confront my perpetrator. My father actually confronted for me. And then last week, 7 years later, I realized that my parents did hear me. They sat with me. They heard everything that I required sharing with them. And they looked at me with massive love. There was no shift in how they felt about me after I'd walked through 48 years of shame.
Yes, and what I'm aware of is, if you've been waiting for them to hear you, will you ever have your outcome of being in your authority and running your story?
No.
No, because what we're aware of is going to the outer. Like, if they would just hear me, oh my God, it just hurts that they don't hear, because your daughter's got an earache, but it is bouncing from one side to the other. So it's aching to be heard.
on both sides.
Yeah, and it's an aching to be heard, a longing. Please hear me, please hear me, please hear me. And yet, who always hears you?
Me, God.
Yes. And when we stay in that, I'm always heard.
I'm always heard.
And when we stay in that, I mean, can you make it okay if your mother flailed and said, you didn't say that, I don't remember that, I have no memory of that, I have no memory of that? What if she was to say that? What is she saying? Because what is she saying to you by, you didn't say that, like, I don't remember that? What is she saying?
I didn't hear you. I couldn't hear you.
She's saying, I couldn't hear you. And what we know when somebody comes and has words like that, are they scared?
Yes.
That's all she is. She's just scared. And can you say, it's okay, Mom, that you didn't hear me?
Yeah.
Will you say that?
It's okay, Mom, that you didn't hear me.
Because I hear me now.
Because I hear me now.
I am my voice.
I am my voice.
And I choose to be heard.
I choose to be heard.
I speak into my story.
I speak into my story.
And I light up my world.
I light up my world.
Now, how does it feel in your body when you say those words?
I feel lightness in my shoulder. I feel ease of breath. And I feel happy. I feel silly. I feel playful.
Awesome. Awesome.
What changes for your mother when you speak into your own inspirational story?
She doesn't have to hold me up. She can be her and I can be me.
Yes, because are you doing what she could not do?
Yes.
Because she couldn't speak for herself or for her children.
Yes.
What I'm aware of is when our parents can't do something, they lay it on the altar for us to do it. When my facilitator said, Carrie, you can continue to wait for your parents to say something, or you can continue to be angry with them, or you can continue to hold that. She said, or you can see that they couldn't do it, so they laid it on the altar for you to do it. I was like, oh yeah, I'm the resurrection. I'm the resurrection. I'm here. I got it. I picked it up and I was like, yes. Because all of that before of waiting on them, and she doesn't have this, she's yet to have this skill set, but you have it. And when you raise it, she will raise hers in a completely different way. And that's the energy of light.
I say my mother did her best.
My mother did her best.
I do the rest.
I do the rest.
Ooh, I like that.
And the truth is they did the best that they could with the tools that they had.
Yes.
And so you have what we are aware of in body language. And when we have an awareness of any kind, it comes into our awareness because we already have all of the tools and support that we require to walk ourselves into the blessing and the glory of the reason. And so what is your reason for sharing your story?
I share for
Keep your eyes open.
my, yes.
I just say I stay.
I stay. I share for my little girl hiding me. I share for my daughter. I share for women who've had this experience, how they can be with their children, be with their daughters, be with their sons. I
And you said-
share to carry the load, like to lighten the load. It just feels, I feel, I feel lighter.
And so have you been holding back on your God-given strengths?
Yes.
Because is there massive blessing in what you have to share?
Yes.
And so what courage? Courage is being afraid and going first anyway.
Yes.
And is it okay what anybody else thinks or feels?
No.
And so do you choose to make it okay that what anybody else thinks or feels okay?
Yes.
Because who's the only one that who's the only one that matters?
Me.
And is that the right answer? Did you have something else you were going to say first?
My daughter.
And so I am my daughter.
I am my daughter.
Say it again.
I am my daughter.
Say it again.
I am my daughter.
And so are you going to teach her to hold back or are you going to teach her to step forward?
Step forward.
And so say, I go first.
I go first.
And I bring my daughter with me.
And I bring my daughter with me.
Because what we're doing is we're teaching our people that we love how we can be with life. And if mommy stays in, I'm scared to share, scared to let other people hear me, I'm pissed about what they're going to say, how they're going to hear me. Is she going to repeat what you've already done?
Yes.
And so there is no separation, and she is you, remembering it's okay to step in and be courageous.
Yes.
And say, I am courageous and I go first.
I am courageous and I go first.
And so what do you say to fear when it comes in and says, oh, you can't do this, you can't do this, you can't do this? What are you going to say to fear?
I can. I will. And thank you for the reminder.
And sometimes we're required maybe stepping over your feeling world, because when we feel really scared, just saying I can work.
No.
No, and so we're required to be massively tender with our fear. We just say, hello, fear.
Yeah.
It's okay. I feel scared to write. I feel scared to share. And we make it okay, because if we're stepping over the feeling, we're gonna keep it in place. And so when it begins, I've had a lot of things about fear on my altar, and it comes in, I'm like, oh, there you are, hello. It's okay. I can keep moving forward. I see you. I'm gonna ride anyway. And speak to the fear, because is that what is on the what's on the other side of fear, Teresa?
Faith.
And are you required, or is your story and what you have to share supporting women who have so much fear that they can remember it's okay to share?
Yes.
Because if we have yet to say, what are we carrying?
If we have yet to say, we are carrying fear, shame.
Do you already know a lot about fear and shame?
Yes.
And so, are you willing to be with your fear and be with your shame so that you can support others, other women, other mothers, other sisters? And
Yes.
the glory of being in what you received as a blessing through your experience.
Yes.
And that was massive blessing coming in. And this is because this is you being in the return of the blessing and allowing your miracles to come in and living in your purpose.
Mm.
Is your purpose to share what you experienced
Yes.
and how you walked through and what life is like on the other side?
Yes.
That's living on purpose. This is living in purpose. This is you showing up for you. This is you teaching your daughter to show up and hear and say whatever you feel, whatever we feel.
Mm. Yes. That feels good. I feel good.
Awesome.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Good morning.
Everybody noticed that
Fred.
she stopped itching and she stopped messing with her. And I was like, everybody noticed that she went from, oh, which is
Yeah.
a tender
I
expression.
touch my expression.
Yeah, this is a massive connection. And this
Yeah.
part of our hand is handling, but it's deep, deep handling. It's tender handling. And when you put both of your hands on your face, it was you being tender with your expression. And you went from that I saw earlier, I was like, she's scratching her arm and then she's doing this. And I was like, and then just settled down. So, and that's what we're aware of is as our body speaks to us, as we start to move through our transformation, it starts giving us the signals of what's going on within our body and telling us what we're believing. And that's the massive movement when we're able to settle into our light and in the glory, which the glory of the reason is your mission in life, your greater mission in life. And it's being alive in your greater mission in life instead of waiting on other people or these other beliefs that we've had before in the past. And so that's awesome. Do we have anybody, is there anybody else that has a body signal that they choose to share, an itch and scratch and ache, anything that's come up, even in this moment of watching all of this, if you had anything come up that you choose to speak into? I know Florence just jumped on, but Mimi, do you have anything or?
Hi, um, my name is Mimi and I have Lyme disease. So I have a lot of aches and pains and mainly my neck and dizziness.
And will you speak more into your symptoms? So dizzy.
Dizzy and like off balance.
And you said, what about what is happening in your neck?
I have a lot of pain in my neck.
And is it on one side or both sides?
It's mainly I keep pulling my head to one direction because otherwise I feel like I'm off balance.
And what direction are you pulling to?
To the left. I'm looking at the phone and I'm like, what's that? Yeah, I want to the left.
Okay. Mimi, do Carrie and I have your permission to facilitate you?
Yes.
And do we have your permission to vote your victory and see your perfection?
Yes.
And do we have your permission to explore with you your greater mission in life?
Yes.
And how do you feel about being dizzy and off balance?
Out of control.
And how do you feel about being out of control?
Scared.
And do you have a first memory of where you felt out of control?
I guess all my childhood was a bit out of control.
Have you had a lot of things that have been uncomfortable or to handle?
Yes.
And so do you have a particular memory in your childhood that where you remember feeling out of control?
Just the
Um,
first memory that comes up.
moving a lot.
Will you speak into a specific move that you remember?
Well, we moved when I was 3 from California to Israel.
And how was that move for you?
Traumatizing.
What was traumatizing about it?
We left, everything at my grandparents, and we moved to a country that we didn't know the language or anything.
So was it a quick move?
Yes.
And you said so if it's unsettling, does it leave you feeling as though you're spinning?
I don't know.
And so that kind of delay when we have a delay in a response, it's usually depending on the question itself, it's going to be a yes or no. And so just take a breath and say, did you feel dizzy when you moved?
Did it feel like life was spinning?
Yeah, I guess.
And so what I'm aware of is, and what Adria's speaking of is when we have a delay, we're yet to step into, and we're aware though when there's a delay, it's a yes. And so because moving from one place to another and leaving everything that you have behind so that you can move someplace where you can't communicate with people and they don't understand you. And you said you felt out of control. And what is happening now that you feel out of control? What is how you're feeling in your body doing for your life?
It's making me not be here.
So are you?
It's like I have 2 kids, and it's making me always worrying about how I'm going to feel if I do anything. So like sort of checked out.
So have you checked out of life?
Yes.
And so say, I checked out of life.
I checked out of life.
Say it again.
I checked out of life.
Say it again.
I checked out of life.
And how do you feel when you say this?
Sad.
And where is there a place in your body where you feel?
I guess my stomach.
Mm-hmm. And I give myself permission.
I give myself permission
To remember.
To remember.
My sadness is okay.
My sadness is okay.
Have you felt it hard to stomach all of your feelings?
Yes.
And dizzy is when we are finding our way in our body, and we've got one self that desires something, and we're over here, and so we're spinning. And so have you made it okay? Have you hated feeling out of control?
Yes.
And when our conscious mind does, our subconscious is its only job is to keep us safe. And when we're children, did you feel as if you had your choice taken away from you?
Yes.
And we give up. And we've given up on our choice. And what we're doing is, are you here to reclaim your full choice?
Yes.
And are you here to reclaim full choice in life?
Yes.
And is everything that you said, everything's taking you out of life. And so I give myself permission to step it back into
I give myself permission to step back into
my full life,
my full life,
my full joy.
my full joy.
And if we're out of control is fear of change.
Yeah.
And change, if we're fearing change, change comes because we have new choices. And can you love change? And you looked up like, oh, hell no.
Yeah, because
No.
because change in the past took you out of life. Didn't feel good. It wasn't in control. But
Yes.
now, what if you had change completely differently? Because what I'm aware of is when our family home, when our home life is shook up and we feel like we don't have a choice, and your family home is doing this, is spinning and spinning from one location to another location to another location. There's no security.
Yeah, there was no. Yeah.
And when we have no security, that's stability, that's slowing down, that's staying. And so we say, I give myself permission to remember my security.
I give myself permission to remember my security.
And what is your higher power? What word do you use for a higher source in life?
I don't really use any.
Do
Okay.
you believe in something greater than yourself?
Well, I guess nature.
Okay. And so Mother Nature, or how about love?
Love, yeah.
Yes, because do you love your children?
I do.
And so that wasn't an answer. So remember that we stay with
Yes.
yes
Yeah.
or no. And because we're desiring to step in and really feel, because on the day that your children were born and you looked at them, did you love them?
Yes.
Was there any doubt?
No.
Anything that could take you out and make you spin?
No.
No. And so if we can love our children, we remember the power of our love, because could your children do anything where you wouldn't love them? No. So if we remember the power of our love, we remember the security of our love. So I am secure in my love.
I am secure in my love.
Say, I give myself permission to remember that I am secure in my love.
I give myself permission to remember that I'm secure in my love.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you to slow down. So we're going to say it's slower, because allowing the feeling to really come in, because if you've been spinning, you'll be going over stuff and all of our feelings. When I say stuff, all of our feelings will be jumping around them. And so I'm going to ask you to say that again. So I give myself permission to
I give
remember.
myself to remember.
I am secure in my love.
I am secure in my love.
So will you say it all again?
I give myself permission to remember it. I'm secure in my love.
Do you feel this?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah. And where do you feel?
I just feel like a calmness, like,
And I was looking for the signal. And so when our head slants,
yeah,
have you been pulling away from doing in order to nurture and receive nurturing in your body?
yes,
Is it time for you to receive your own love?
yes. Try to straighten my head, but
Well, and we don't have to get right, but it was one of the symptoms that you said. And so leaning is, were you pulling away from a masculine figure that took you out?
yes,
Did your daddy put you in a tailspin?
yeah,
Just breathe. And was he moving as a means to support his family?
no,
Okay. Do you know the reason for the move?
probably it was very selfish, probably to support himself.
And
And if he only knew how to support himself,
thank you.
is it possible that he was trying to support you? It's the only way he knew. Because sometimes what we're aware of is we'll take care of ourselves because the only thing we know. Like, does he know how to be a father? No. But what did he know? What would help him? So he did what he thought was best for him. I mean, is it possible he did what he thought was best for himself because he didn't know how to be a dad? But he brought you with him, didn't he? Did he bring you with him?
Yeah,
And remember to say your yes and your no's.
yes,
And so is it okay that he didn't know how to be a father? Did he have a father figure?
yes.
Did he have a good father figure? Or a father figure that was massive security, that knew how to father? Did his father know how to father?
I'm not sure, but
Okay. And what we're aware of is that if he didn't know how to father, did he do the best that he could do?
I don't think so.
So have
And
you
so are
been
you,
judging how your father loves you?
Could you repeat that again?
Have you been judging how your father loves you?
Yeah, yes,
And have you enjoyed being judged?
no,
So when we don't enjoy being judged, we normally turn around and we judge other people. And so if you judge the way your father loves you, then is it possible that you are yet to see that he only did what he knew?
yes,
And if he only did what he knew, is that the best he could do?
oh, yes,
Because what we're aware of is we may believe like I have a father, and I remember going, I would never do that to my children. I don't know what he was thinking when he did that. I would have never done that to my children. And I'm aware that people that have moved a lot will stay right where they are sometimes because they're not going to do anything like their parents. And with my father, I remember saying I would never take from my children the way my father took from me. And yet, was in my experience, I had, my mother passed unexpectedly and left a will, and my father changed everything in the will and took everything that was willed from my mother to me and put it all in his name and sold it and kept everything for him. And I remember saying, I would never do that to my children. I would never take from my children. And then I stopped. And what I'm aware of is saying those things, first of all, are extremely judgmental.
Yeah.
Extremely judgmental. And then the feeling in my body when I say that is, oh, it's so heavy. And then when I actually stopped and looked at my father, I realized growing up, he didn't have anything. They didn't have much. They didn't have much money. They didn't, my grandmother didn't pay much attention to him. He didn't have much love. And so all he knew was to hold on to anything he could. And so when my mother left the earth and ascended, he held on to everything he could. And I kept saying, well, why wouldn't he just have held on to me? I would have held on to my children. Instead, he held on to everything else. He only held on to what he knew. He just started grabbing. And if I try to make all kinds of sense of it, he was just scared and he held on. And when I realized, oh, he was just scared. He was just scared. My facilitator said, when your mother died, did you get scared? I said, yeah, we both got scared. And so we both got scared, and then he just held on. And what I'm aware of is when I can see that that's all he knew, that's all he could do, I could realize, I could look at myself and see, how am I holding on to my children? And what I was doing was holding on to them and not allowing them to, or I wasn't supporting them in making all of their own choices. And yet they were desiring to create their own lives and do their own things. So what I was aware of was I may have done it differently, but I was still holding on. And when I could see, oh, okay, this is all he knew. And now I can step up and I can see him for how he really was, that he loves me. He's still alive. He loves me. It's the only thing he knew. And it's okay. And when we give ourselves that we can look at our parents that way, we can put down all the anger and the frustration of they put me here and they took me through this, and be able to say, I'm here for massive security for you, because if your parents shook up the house and moved all around and you've tagged that as being selfish, is it time for you to forgive him and build your own security?
It's hard for me to do that.
So will you
And-
just give yourself permission? And just say, I give myself permission
I give myself permission.
to forgive my daddy.
All together.
I give myself permission to forgive him.
And what we're aware of in the collective of men is that their belief, especially men of a certain age, and what they were taught is that love is supporting your family financially. You work and you bring home the money. You work and you bring home the money. That's what they knew as love. And if that's all they know as love, then they're doing what they know how to do and doing their best. And I remember when I stepped into my own awareness of judging my mother's love, the exact moment I closed the door, even. And when somebody said, "Were you judging her?" I was like, "Yeah." And forgiveness is something we do for ourselves.
Yeah.
Because have you been carrying the resentment of your father to the degree that it's impairing your body?
Yes.
And is it taking you out of life, carrying the burden of your resentment of your daddy?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so
Is it weighing you down? Is it pulling you over?
Yes.
Is it taking you out of life?
Yes.
you
So
regain
what I'm aware of is the word forgive means forgive, forgiving. And it's a forgiving is giving to ourselves, because what I'm aware of is I was raised that forgiving meant that you were making it right. Like you were saying what they did was okay. And so if I forgave my father, I was saying that it was okay what he did. And I was like, oh no, I'm not saying what he did was okay, because I'm here to tell you what he did was wrong. And that's what I stood in the past. And what I'm remembering is, to let all of that go and just forgive for me, to give back to myself. And are you willing to give back to yourself the joy of life?
Yes.
Okay, so say, I forgive for no reason.
I forgive for no reason.
I give myself permission to forgive.
I give myself permission to forgive.
I forgive for me.
Forgive for me.
in body language. You got your fingers, your will. Are you willing to express what you feel?
I'm working on it.
And so will you say yes or no? I'm willing. Are you willing to express what you feel?
Yes.
And it may take you some time to actually find your courage. And when Carrie, speaking into forgiveness, are you reclaiming your life in forgiving?
Yes.
Because if you let go of your anger and your resentment and the weight of what you've carried in anger, do you step into, does all of your attention and your energy go back into you?
Yeah. Yes.
And so are you willing to forgive so you may reclaim life?
Yes.
And do you feel the difference? Does anything about what your daddy did change?
Say that
I
again.
said, does anything about what your daddy did change because you forgive it?
No.
And so he did what he did. He did the best that he could, the best that he knew. And yet you're the one carrying all the bitter. Is he bitter?
Yeah.
You're the one living in bitter. And so will you forgive yourself for believing in bitter?
Yes.
And so I forgive
I forgive
me.
me.
I carried bitter.
And carry
I can
bitter.
let go.
Let go.
And what is different in your life letting go of bitter anger and resentment? What changes?
Joy. More joy.
And so are you willing to forgive so you can have some joy?
Yes.
Just, oops, I'll let go. And do you feel centered when you live in joy?
Yes.
And who's the one that's going to give you that?
Me.
And so what is one loving action that you can give yourself that gives you joy?
I guess forgiving me.
And are you going to guess about forgiveness, or are you going to just forgive?
Forgive.
And so is there something, literally something that you've desired to do that you've yet to do that brings you joy?
To travel with my kids.
And is there something even smaller?
Something you can do. What we're saying is there's something in beginning of a step. Is there something you can do the moment you complete this call that you can step into that is something that you were moving away from because of how you felt in your body? Is there something you can give yourself that will be a step in joy?
To do more for me.
Name one thing that you're willing to do for you today.
Maybe try more to do my yoga.
And so will you give yourself 3 to 5 minutes of yoga today?
Yes.
And will you commit to giving yourself 3 to 5 minutes of yoga all week, every day, all week?
Yes.
This in 3 minutes. Do you have 3 minutes for you?
I do.
And so our subconscious knows no difference in sandcastles or the Empire State Building. And so when we step into loving action for ourselves, what we're doing is we are creating the life that we love. We are showing up, we are loving ourselves, and we're loving our body. And when our attention is loving on us, to us, for us, this is living in forgiveness. This is living in joy, even if it's only 3 minutes to start with.
Yeah. Because even I love doing yoga, and always I'm now so worried because my neck and the way I feel. So
Can yoga do anything to hurt your neck?
Say that.
So can yoga do anything to hurt your neck?
No.
And do you know how to adjust your body to give yourself ease?
Not really.
And just say, I trust my body.
I trust my body.
I remember trusting my body.
I remember trusting my body.
My body always gives me ease.
My body always gives me ease.
Because when the body is going to do, and it's going to tell you when. Does it tell you when to stop? That's far enough.
Yeah.
And do you know how to listen?
Yeah.
Yes. And so.
Because you don't have to wrap your foot behind your head.
Maybe that would help.
We're not looking for the yoga pose where your foot goes behind your head and you balance on your hands. We're imagining something a little more tender. I mean, just basic. We started out this whole call with twists. We twist and breathe. We started this whole call with 3 to 5 minutes, 3 minutes probably of twisting and breathing. And what we're remembering is when you do yoga and you do your breath and you do breath, you bring oxygen in, you oxygenate your body. It's a massive reminder. And that inhalation that we did where that's receiving. And you're here for the massive receiving, because in your forgiveness, it is your receiving of joy. And so an inhalation, 3 to 5 minutes of inhalation and just small twists. Because have you made up that yoga has to be an hour and a half? But it must be an hour and 90 minutes and 90 degree temperature. And we'll make up all this stuff. And yet it can be very simple, because that's the beauty of yoga.
Because the signal is requiring, increasing, receiving, nurturing, and creativity. Awesome.
And it will, the loving action is the doing part. And so it is your balance, is what she's saying. The doing of yoga is your receiving of joy and allowing yourself to step into fear. This is the balance, which is going to support realigning.
Yes.
And it's choosing life. Every time we do something for ourselves is a way that we say yes to life. Awesome. Thank you.
Thanks.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Florence, I saw you raise your hand that you had a signal you choose to play with. If we've met, we're at our time frame. If you choose to stay, awesome. And Florence, if you desire to play, we'll stay and play.
That would be great.
Awesome. So tell us what's going on, sweetie.
What I have noticed as my feet, when I went to the farm, I had swollen feet, I had plantar fasciitis, and they told me that was understanding. I used to say I'm confused a lot. I used to say, oh, I don't understand. I don't know. A lot of not understanding. So once I connected to that, I continue to change my words, use words I understand, I require, and my language. And my feet have improved, but what I notice is that my body's really, really tight. Like I'm holding on to a lot of things.
Where's your
And
tightness?
it's kind of everywhere. Like I go to the chiropractor, I get massages, but it comes back. And one of the symptoms they said from plantar fasciitis, I went back to my neck now, itching my
Are you
neck.
on fire? Just say I stay.
I stay.
It's okay.
And they said that sometimes the plantar fasciitis gives you like a domino effect. So all my legs
Who
are
said?
the chiropractors.
Okay. So are you gonna believe the diagnosis?
No,
And have you hated not understanding?
yes, I have hated not understanding.
Say I hate not understanding.
I hate not understanding.
Say it again.
I hate not understanding.
And your eyes got really big.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it
Your
did.
massive fear and not knowing.
Mhm.
What happens if you don't know, Florence?
I feel lost. I feel
Is
a lot of,
is that a recurring theme for you, feeling lost?
yes, I feel it's sad. I'm touching sadness. I had a lot of anger before. It was still feeling lost, but it would come out as rage and anger. And now it's coming up as a lot of just so much sadness.
And is it okay if you're still angry?
Yes.
And
Because
are you,
sadness is a go-to feeling for women.
Repeat that again.
I said sadness is a go-to feeling for women. I feel sad.
Mhm.
And so because is it easier to be sad or angry?
For me, it was
What's more acceptable? Sadness or anger?
sadness.
because what what Andrea is speaking about is that as women we would get sad because then as soon as you get sad, everybody will leave you alone.
Mm.
Like everybody backs up. Like if a woman goes sad, then they because have you been angry about not being understood?
Yes.
And then if you get sad, then can you just back everybody up from evaluating you to say they don't understand you or they don't understand why you do this?
Yes.
Yes, because we'll find the other thing. Oh, well, let's go to sadness. Then everything will just back up. Then there is no understanding to be had at that moment. That way we just deflect, and then we can just jump out of however we're jump out of the understanding in the moment. Because what is it? Did you feel people didn't you spoke into? Did you feel people didn't understand you?
Yes.
And what is that experience, Florence? Can you share an experience that you remember about not being understood?
When I was a child, they laughed at me a lot. Everything was a joke. So I would
say,
my grandmother, my aunts and uncles, I'd be at the table and they would be saying a lot of cynical things and sarcasm and name calling. And
how
so
old were you?
now that I recall, I was like anywhere from 6 to 8, somewhere in there. So I remember feeling like really angry, like I just wanted to yell at them names and just leave the table, but I would just hold it in and
Okay, so has
smile.
your soul been holding on to unconscious anger?
Yes. Yes.
Just breathe.
And have you been yet to understand your anger?
Yes.
Because what I hear from you is that there was a lot of anger and rage in the past, and you've been trying to understand why you were so freaking angry. Yes or no?
Yes.
And have you been trying to understand why it's your go-to? Why do I just get pissed? Like, why do I rage? Been trying to understand. And what we're aware of is, if your family had anger on deck as a way of dealing with things, did they have anger on deck as a way of dealing with things, your family?
Oh, yes. Yes.
So what we're aware of is if our family did it that way, we have it in our body and we go to. And what is the opposite of an argument?
Agreement, communication, or
Yeah. And have you agreed to let go?
No.
And so have you had a belief in anger? You had an agreement with anger.
Yes. Yes.
And so if we have an agreement, what do we know that we can do with our agreements?
We
Can
can
shift them?
shift
We
them
can,
and change.
we can author something new and different.
Yes. There's more light here.
And so say, oops, I believed in anger.
Oops, I believed in anger.
And so what does, when you take anger off the board, off your planet, out of your awareness, what's available to you?
Joy, love, forgiveness.
And so is it time to create new agreements with joy and love?
Yes, yes.
Because if anger is showing up, have you fully believed in joy and forgiveness yet?
No.
And what's the one feeling that moves anger?
Forgiveness.
We forgive anger. How about love?
Oh, love. Yes.
And so is it time for you to love anger?
Let me have that. Tell me that again, please.
Is it time for you to love your anger?
Wow, it's hard for me to say yes.
And make it okay.
It's okay.
Because what I'm aware of is Tejano women everywhere have a go-to for anger. And Tejano women everywhere have massive love. Yes or no?
Yes.
Because do you love your family?
Yes.
So if you have that much love in you, can you look anger in the face and say, I love you, anger. It's okay.
Mm. It's so massive. I'm really afraid of it right now.
And make
Open
it
your eyes.
okay.
It's okay. Just open your eyes.
Okay, yes.
It's hard.
Because what we're doing is you're looking at a whole family history of how they've done things. Listen, I'm an expert on this. I swear there must be some Tejano in me somewhere because I'm an expert on this. My family believed everywhere that you had to argue. You fought for love. You fought for what you believed in. You fought for all of that is anger.
Mhm.
And so it was everything was angry, and every form of communication had some little stint of anger in there. And it's all they knew, because if you believe you fight for love, and you believe you fight for you believe what you believe in, and you believe you fight for your dreams, and you fight for what's right, and you fight for those who can't fight for themselves. My parents believed all of that. That's believing in a fight for everything. And what we're remembering is that love at that table with those women that were making fun of you and didn't understand you, all you were asking for was to be loved as you were. Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes. And so now you're being asked to look at your whole family DNA of a belief of anger and just be able to say, I can love you as you are, because the opposite of anger is what?
Love.
Yes. And what we're remembering is that we can agree to love, because underneath of anger is, what's underneath of anger?
Fear.
Yes.
Oh wow, my vision's getting blurry.
Awesome. Is your lens shifting?
Yes.
Just say, I see through the lens of love.
I see through the lens of love.
Keep your eyes open.
Because when we see that the reason everybody got angry in my family is they were scared they were going to lose love. So you had to fight for it.
Mhm.
They were scared that other people weren't going to be provided for. So they fought for those who didn't believe they could think for themselves. Underneath every single one of those is fear that something else is going to happen. So we trump it with anger. And that means that the opposite of fear is faith.
Mm.
And we're remembering our massive return of faith. And it's the faith that you can choose love.
Mm.
It's the faith that you can agree to love.
Mm.
Say, I agree, I see love.
I agree. I see love. Mm.
Does that land, or is it over your feeling world?
I choose to use trust, because trust is a big no for me. Like,
Okay,
trust.
so if it's a big no-no for you, then you're here to lean into trust.
That's what she's asking for.
And so can you trust yourself to agree to seeing through the lens of love?
Yes.
I give myself permission
I give myself permission
to see through love.
to see through the lens of love. My eyes want to close. I want to shut my eyes
Okay,
down.
just say, I stay.
I stay.
Stay for me.
I stay for me.
I trust I can stay for me.
I trust I can stay for me. Mm.
I trust my love,
I trust my love,
and I love my trust.
and I love my trust. My chest
you.
is hurt. My chest hurts a lot now.
And so, have you had love as painful?
Yes.
And so, just say, come on in.
Come on in, love.
I remember my love.
I remember my love.
Because it's love, pleasure.
Yes, love is
And
pleasure.
if we've been looking through the lens of anger and pain, we just had a belief that we couldn't have pleasure, that we couldn't have ease, that we couldn't have love. And are any of these things true?
No.
So have you been making everything else? Have you been making love and pleasure and ease and trust wrong, unconsciously?
Yes, yes.
Because what we're if our subconscious mind only job is to support us and stay exactly where we are, anytime something new comes up that's going to bring us joy, going to bring us pleasure, going to bring us ease, it says, oh no, we got to go back to anger, got to go back to fear. And you came in with swollen feet, which is holding on to understanding, holding on to what you feel. And do any feelings make sense?
Yes.
Do feelings do we have to understand
Oh,
our
no.
feelings? And so if you don't understand anger, what's going to happen?
Mm.
You've had all your attention. Have you had all of your focus on trying to understand the
Understand.
anger?
What can't be understood? And so do you require understanding? Have you already understood enough anger?
Yes.
Do you know a whole lot about anger already, Florence?
Yes.
Have you had enough understanding of anger?
Have you done the research and development? Have you already done it?
So,
Like,
what is it time for you to walk into what your anger turns into?
Mm.
And so, are you here for great understanding of love?
Yes.
And do you know?
I have one more. I have one comment that right now I'm like doing this. Like I go from a lot of the anger to the victim, like the sadness, I guess could be called the.
And so, are you going to go back into what you used to know, or are you going to claim where you are and where you're going?
I'm going to claim where I
I
am.
reclaim my love.
I reclaim my love.
I trust I can reclaim my love.
I trust I can reclaim my love.
I trust and I stay in my love.
I trust and I stay in my love.
And when anger comes in, what do you do?
I allow it to sit on my lap. I welcome it in.
Love on it.
Mhm.
And what have you, I'm aware of the phenomenal amount of miracles that you have lovingly created in your life, Florence, with your children.
Yes.
You've let go of diabetes.
Yes.
You have let go of other things in your own body. You have resurrected life in both of your boys through cystic fibrosis.
Yes.
You've resurrected love in your former husband and created and reunited family in you, your boys and their daddy. You have reunited, reignited, resurrected love and family all over the planet, from the United States into South America. Do you already know what love is?
Yes, I do.
And are you just trying to go back and understand why you're angry?
Yes.
And just say, oops,
Oops.
I know all about you, anger. It's okay.
It's okay.
Look at all this love that I've already done.
Mhm.
It's like that book Amy Crone wrote, My Friend Angry.
My friend angry.
It's like, come on in here. You're just the last little bit that's yet to see love, and I'm going to show you in. Because somebody that's created this much massive return for her entire family,
Mhm.
that's where you've already done this. And what's happening is it's just the little end. It's like a weed.
Mhm.
And get them all out of there, and then the last little one goes, what about me? I really remember anger. Remember?
Say, I understand how powerful I am.
I understand how powerful I am.
I understand the power of my love.
I understand the power of my love.
And
I
now I
have a-
stand in my love.
I stand in my love. Okay, what's coming for me is that I guess I've done it for everyone else, but not myself.
And so who's keeping it out?
I am.
And so what are you going to say? Come on in.
Come on in. I reclaim my love for me. I
My
stay
love
for
is
me.
I have, if you've done it for you, do you love your children?
Yes.
Do you have love for your former husband?
Yes.
Do you have love for your brothers and sisters and your aunties and your cousins and everybody else?
Yes.
Are they any different? Are they you, Florence?
Yes.
And so have you already done it for yourself?
Yes.
And now is it time for you to stand in it? Because what we're aware of is our feet is our understanding. It's what we're standing in. And if there's the last little bit of you that all of a sudden you go to the farm and you give yourself joy, and a little bit of anger starts to raise up, a little inflammation and understanding starts to raise up, and you have all this massive love in you, it's time for you to stand in your love. Will you stand right now, Florence?
I stand in my love.
Say it again.
I stand in my love.
Can you say it in Spanish?
Yo me paro en mi amor.
Again.
Yo me paro en mi amor.
Again.
Yo me paro en mi amor.
Say it again.
Yo me paro en mi amor.
Again.
Yo me paro en mi amor.
Again.
Yo me paro en mi amor.
And so say, I already stand in my love. Thank you.
I already stand in my love.
En
Thank
español, por favor.
I would try to say how to do that. Yo estoy ya levantada en mi amor. Yo estoy levantada en mi amor.
Gracias. Y
Gracias.
gracias.
Yo
Otra vez.
estoy levantada en mi amor. Gracias. Yo estoy levantada en mi amor. Gracias.
Just yet to say thank you to yourself for what you'd already done. Breathe it in, girl.
Thank you.
And you see how our eyes got so much bigger. And when we're aware of a pattern that goes back in our DNA, we will be required to touch it in our native language, because that's the root of where it is. Believing that there's so much more love here available for us to stand in. And it's okay that our family in the past has agreed to something else. We're here for the return.
You've been doing it for years. The experience last week that I remember, that I actually realized what I had done and given to myself 7 years later.
Mm.
I already did it. And it's only been a couple, so awesome.
Thank you. Wow. Huge burden, feels like a huge burden came off of me.
So I received my full blessing.
I received my full blessing.
I received a massive blessing.
I receive a massive blessing.
Awesome.
Welcome. All
Thank
the
you.
blessings. You're welcome.
Yes, you're welcome.
Thank you.
I am so happy that you showed up today.
I am too.
Me too, me too.
Massive courage. Awesome. Anyone last second to say that they choose to just say help? Anything?
I
Hi,
do.
Shelley.
No, I had so much trouble with the link earlier that I couldn't get on. So hopefully, if there's
I
a recording,
apologize.
watch.
Yes, you'll receive a recording because you registered.
Perfect.
You look great.
Thank you. I do have something to say. I've seen a lot of great things with my digestion. It's for 10 years, it's been so slow, it's nearly stopped. And since I've been playing in this, it has been returning. And that's been my miracle. This last week, it has gone the other direction. Is that it returning to me?
And so are you believing that that you can lose weight, that you can go back?
Go back to what?
Go back to where you were.
To being where it's too slow?
Okay, so yes. Or do you believe that you can reverse what you've come through already?
Yes.
And have you had fear about your digestion slowing down again?
Yes.
And have you said, I can't believe how well this is working for me?
Yes.
Have you literally said, I can't believe?
Well, I
Or thought about it?
probably, yeah, I've
And
thought it.
so I believe, the word believe is to be alive in. And if you felt like, I can't believe this is working, oh my gosh, finally, what
Right.
it's going to do is going to be like, oh my God, we got to take her back to where she was. That's lights out. And so
Then it went to the
revisit-
opposite end.
revisit what you and I had done before with your decrees, and just say, oops.
Oops.
I remember I can believe in my miracles.
I remember I can believe in my miracles.
I remember I can receive.
Remember I can receive.
I can dissimulate.
I can dissimulate.
I can assimilate.
I can assimilate.
Assimilate is how we take in. And I can let go.
And I can let go.
I believe in letting go.
I believe in letting go.
My letting go blesses my world,
My letting go blesses my world.
because you have major attention on feeding and nurturing.
Mhm. And I've seen miracles in my family too recently. So, and that is amazing.
Awesome.
Yeah, thank you.
Welcome. I'm happy to see you.
Mhm.
Okay.
Anything else?
Okay.
Thank you for showing up. We appreciate you. I apologize for the glitch with the
Oh, yeah.
link, and
Totally.
we're still getting our things in line.
We are upgrading our connections and communications minute to minute. So thank you for
It's
giving
always a
yourself to jump in again and again, because I'm aware that it took your will for you to keep going. They're gonna say me and I'm gonna talk to them.
Yes,
So
and
we love
yes, and
that. We honor you where you are.
you're welcome to join as many of these as you desire.
Yes.
There's no limit. We're happy to have people with us.
Yes.
Awesome. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Massive gratitude for those who showed up and played and stayed. And Mimi, we will offer, for those who are new to playing with us, we offer a free consult. And if you look at the body language page, there's a place to schedule something, so we can do that with you. If you
And we will be
desire.
sending out some information about our next upcoming class, because we do have a class in January about decoding how your money is wired, because we're going to start going through the lens, looking at the lens of our family, of how we've looked at money. Money doesn't grow on trees, which we're aware of. That just means money doesn't grow.
Health and wealth.
And health and wealth, and we're aware of how we take care of our physical body is how we're taking care of our bank account. So we're going to play with that class in January, and then we have a retreat at the end of January, and it's going to be massive. We do it in Canyon Lake, Texas. It's fabulous. And we'll be doing body electronics, which these are the places where your body is yet to let go of some of the movements you've had. We walk you through some more movements, and then we do some actual body work to help to support your body in fully letting go. And body electronics brings you back on board to your divine blueprint of who you were designed to be. And it speeds up, and it's a massive movement. And so we'll be doing those things on retreat. In the next few weeks, you'll be getting some emails with some special discounts on those things as well. So we have deposits available, and we're able to meet you wherever you are. So we empower you that if you hear these things and you have a yes for them, send an email, send a message. How can I make this work for me? Because I have a yes. My heart is saying yes, and I'm not really sure how I'm going to do it, but we're here to hear, and we can support you in that translation as well. And everything will be offered as a deposit, to offer a deposit to give yourself your yes, and then we can work with how you'll move from there. So trust your heart and hear your yes, because when you read about these things, you hear about them, you get excited. It's for you.
Like, ooh, how am I going to do that? I don't know. I'm going to sign up anyway.
Yeah. It's how Andrea and I did it. Okay. Thank you all.
Thank you so much for your being with us today. We appreciate you greatly.
Bye.
Bye, Florence. Bye, Shelley. Bye, me.